crew out of New York.
You know, the reputation of the Supreme Team is like the reputation of the Mafia.
The Supreme Team was one of the biggest organizations in that time frame in the city. And this goes back to drugs and money. That was Bimmy's biggest thing.
Bim had this whole Hollywood thing about him, you know, always. Bim is a bigger celebrity than the celebrities.
We really about to get into this Bimmy story real quick.
My mother, 8 kids in the house. Crazy, like this one body.
Middle of the crack era?
In the middle of the crack era, so it was designed for me to fail. He left when I was like 4. Nigga was a parachuter. He jumped on planes and shit. You know? Wow. Yeah, so he came home and he had no job, he had nothing. So he got into drugs. You know him and went down south and they burnt his ass up in a trailer.
Wait, hold on. Wow.
I need to get he owed him money. He started fucking with drugs and all that. He was selling it, he was using, selling. You know, you can't do both. So he ran up a tab and they located him.
How the fuck they found him?
I can't even tell you, man. We ain't had no internet back then.
The mob found anything. They burned him up. He died.
Yeah, he died. He killed him.
Well, man, that was that's Bimmy, man. He telling this story, and you know, essentially, he says he lost his dad when he was young, man. Apparently, his pops left when he was 4. And by his pops leaving and not really checking in with the family like that, you know, as he later learned in life, he says that his dad owed the mob some money. And he went down south to escape, you know, to run from that mob, you know, from the guys he owed money. And they eventually found him around 10 years old when Bimmy was 10, and when they found his father down south, they murdered him, man. They burned him and everything. They took his life over unpaid debt. And, you know, from, you know, in my thought process in life, yes, you must teach a man a lesson, you know, if it comes to that. But at the end of the day, dead men can't pay no bills. So if a dead man can't pay no bills, how do you rationalize that? You'll never get your money at this point. But I guess back then it wasn't about, you know, it wasn't necessarily about getting what you was owed. It was about sending a message, proving a point, things based upon principle. So that's pretty much, you know, the issue that he said that is, you know, that went on with his dad. But he said from 4 to 10, he didn't have contact with his father, man. And, you know, he went to the funeral and everything, but he really couldn't say him because it was a closed casket because they burnt him back. And, you know, it's like a little, it's a little wild to hear that he's talking about his father. You know, you got to imagine what type of trauma that may have caused in Bimmy's life. You know, that may have been one of the things that pushed him toward the street. And he also, when he was talking about his dad, he also said that his dad sold drugs and used drugs, you know. So by him selling and using drugs, you know, that was the problem right there. That's why he owed so much. You know, and there's a few other things that he's talking about, but I'm going to kind of, you know, chop it up a bit, you know, use Bimmy's story. I kind of like just give my perspective on some of the things that he's mentioning. And this is coming from different documentaries and, you know, things of that nature, different sources of information where he's talking firsthand. That way I'm not, you know, taking somebody else's words, you know, and using it in my content. So, yeah, man, today we're going to talk about the, you know, the street. I'm going to start a street legend series. That's just, yeah. Man, it's not that I'm glorifying the streets and into the streets. I just want to know the psyche behind a lot of people getting into the streets because, you know, everybody has their thing that they do or they've done. You know, nobody's going to be playing in like nobody. So as that, with that being said, you know, even my personal journeys, you know, there are things that we've all done that we're not proud of. There are things that we partook in that wasn't so squeaky clean, and we don't justify these things, but people's stories need to be told properly by someone who doesn't share an outside bias. Like, because when you grow up in the inner city, these are things that people that don't grow up here or grow up that way, that doesn't grow up in Queens, they didn't grow up in Baltimore, they didn't grow up in LA, they didn't grow up in Detroit, they didn't grow up in some of these bigger inner cities, and let's not get it twisted. The South is crazy as well, like, all across America, all across the globe and other countries, there are hoods everywhere. There are inner cities everywhere where there's poverty and people don't have a lot of opportunities, so they do what they can and what they have to do to survive. And people who grew up with quote unquote a silver spoon, or people who've grown up with wealth and money in suburban neighborhoods that never lived in the inner city, don't understand the decision making process. And as Bimmy speaks in these interviews, I'm going to be the one to kind of go back and get my comment in the content and let you know that, hey, this is the setup. This is his, and his mother worked 3 jobs to provide for, his sibling, him and the siblings. Like, and she said that all she had to give her kids was the Lord after using all that money. I mean, all the money for working those 3 jobs just to provide the house and food for them. That was it. Just the necessary things, so the shoes and the things that they wanted, the clothes, and you're in a single parent household, so you're at a disadvantage at that point. So by you being at a disadvantage at that point, what happens is you decide to take matters into your own hands. A lot of times, as men and as men at a house, once our father leaves or dies, or let's just say your mom dies and your pops is the one who's left, and he has his own issues, and you have other siblings, so people have to do what they have to do. And sometimes, as a young man, you take on a lot more than you're supposed to because of what your situation is. You're not allowed to be a child. You're not allowed to experience childlike things. So in turn, you mature faster, and then you do adult things. Now, it's also a flip side of that. As a person who's always mature and so, serious, it doesn't allow you any playtime. So when you get away from that type of lifestyle and environment, and you're allowed to finally just, go work a regular job, go do regular things, and go be a regular person, sometimes you revert back to childish measures. Most men won't admit that, but those things happen, and that's why, at the end of the day, when a man or a boy is forced to become a man early, and they run those streets and they do those things, they're serious 90% of the time. But when it's time to turn up and go out, they have the most fun because they never had a chance to. It's just like if you took a pastor's daughter who never gets outside, and you allow her to finally spread her wings, she's going to overindulge and have more fun because she's not used to it. But let's go into a few more things that Bimmy has to say, and I'll be right back with you to speak on these things.
Were you?
I was like probably 10.
So from
10.
He left the house at 4. From 4 to 10, you didn't have no contact with him?
No contact. He ain't fuck with us. I don't know what the nigga problem was. He ain't fuck with us.
Did you go to his funeral at least?
I went to his funeral. It was a closed casket because they burnt them.
And y'all knew the mob did it?
As I got older, I found, my uncles and all them talking, and you know what I mean? I found out that.
So how y'all thought it was an accident at first?
Yeah, not really, because he a parachuter. He can jump out of a fucking window. You know what I'm saying? And there ain't no stories. Just jump out the window. He jumped off planes. He can't jump out the window and survive that. So you know it was fishy. You know what I mean?
You think they heard him first and then set it on fire?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So tell us about your...
One of the strongest women I've ever met in my life. You know what I mean? Like, she had like 3 jobs. You know what I mean? And she took care of all of us, but she couldn't give us nothing. You know what I mean? You ask her to this day, she said, I had nothing to get him but the Lord. You know what I mean? That's all I can get him. You know what I mean? I used to run around in Chinese slippers, playing basketball in Chinese slippers and shit. Like, you know, we was always behind the bills. We ain't had no hot water. We ain't had no heat. You know what I'm saying? No food.
How many of y'all lived in the house?
8.
Oh my God.
So, you know, it was crazy. Niggas fight. Like, it used to be more cold in my house. It was outside. I used to take my sister's blow dryer and put in the bed with me at night and put the blow dryer on and the head it going on. And my brother just told my mom, like, Bimmy got the blow dryer on. You know what I mean? He said, motherfucker, she come and whip my ass. I'm like, nigga, you can start a fire. You know, the fire's cold. I got the blow dryer on. Yeah.
So okay. Yeah. And that's where her parents is from.
Yeah, her parents is from there.
What about your father's parents? You don't know?
They're from South Carolina.
Was a fighter.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. She the first. She introduced me to the streets. Like, she took me to like gang fights. She was with the Lady Nomads.
Right now, as I'm getting into the interview with Queen Flip and Bimmy, he has 8 brothers and sisters. You know, there's 8 of them in Flint. And Bimmy states that his mom she's Creole, so like she comes from the New Orleans, Louisiana type background, and his dad's from South Carolina, and that's a wild mixture in itself, you know. And so it brings a different type of thing to the table. But my man said he had to use the blow dryer because they ain't had no heat. And, you know, most people question, okay, why was he running around with the spring team and this, that, and the third? But look at his upbringing. Look, the choices he's made was based on, you know, the circumstances that he was living in. You feel what I'm saying? And the people don't know, like, it's winter time, it's snowing outside. You know, picture this, below 0 temperatures in your home. You have no heat, no water. Those are actually unlivable conditions. He plugged the blow dryer up to keep warm. His mother beat him because he said, hey, you can start a fire doing that. What's wrong with you? Now, listen to that story. It's like you use an extreme measure to cover up an extreme conflict. You're cold as a child. You don't know these things. You just worried about keeping warm, essentially. So, you know, you do what you have to do. And eventually, if you live like this long enough, somebody offers you a chance to make some quick and easy money, you're not going to turn it down. You know, and I'm thinking like, yeah, this is the start. This is the start. Now, I don't believe that Ben was all bad ever. Nobody is. At all in any given circumstance. They're not, you know, you do what you have to do until you don't have to do it. So, you know, eventually down in his story or whatever like that, you know, he started working at Def Jam. You know, he was around Run DMC. People get Bimmy mistaken with DJ Hurricane. But when you look at that and you think about that, this is a person who's not necessarily, oh, I'm gonna stay in this lifestyle, this criminal element, I'm gonna continue to do these things. No, it's a man who's like, hey, I'm determined to get out of this situation. So once I get out of this situation I'm in at home, I don't want to do this other thing forever either. So I'm going to get out of this by using other resources. And back in the 80s and the 90s, you know, for people that was in the streets, it was a lot of money. You know, it's not like now where it's all dried up and oversaturated. Everybody's doing the same thing. There was a lot of money out there. So people got to understand the 80s and 90s, it was so much money that the drug dealers look like the superstars that you see today. The only difference is the drug dealers back then. That's where this is where hip hop gets its style from. All the streets and hip hop is one. It always has been and it always will be. That's why so much violence in the music, and that's why so much violence and gang activity surrounding hip hop, because that's where it came from. Yeah, we could judge the kids for acting the way they act, of course. Because now it's so easy in so many ways to make money. Look at YouTube, look at Instagram, look at Facebook. There's so many resources outside of just having a regular, everyday job that you don't necessarily need to do those things. Now it's the cool factor, it's the wild factor, it's the living on the dangerous side, and I don't think that decision making is very valid. But when you look at somebody like Bimmy, you look at some of these older guys that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who chose that lifestyle, it wasn't this many opportunities. So the choices were less, or not to say that it's, glorified or, hey, well, they made the best, so we're not making excuses. If you choose to be a criminal, in which most cases, when you choose that lifestyle, they come with consequences and repercussions. Everything does, to be honest with you. When you sign your name up for anything in this world, it's gonna come with those good and bad. And most people who were in it back then knew exactly what the consequences were, and they were willing to take those risks, and they still on that. And that's the ideology of, the street cats from back in the day. You know the rules. You know what game you play. It's like when you sign up for this industry, you understand that it comes with a certain level of politics. These things are going to happen. You understand that these things happen. Point blank, period. But I'm just giving you the psyche. This is the mindset of a person. This is what he's stepping into. This is the situation at home. This is why he's doing what he's doing. This is why he has done what he has done. You get what I'm saying? And this is not about the entire Supreme team. It's about this one individual. So man, we're gonna continue with this, man. We're gonna continue.
So they were kind of at their peak at this point.
Yes.
But you knew them before then, right?
Yeah, I knew them from like the playground. It was a center called PAL, Forest Laurie, where they had, you can play basketball in the gym, you can box, you can swim, you can play golf, different stuff,
Community recreation center.
Athletic leagues and all that type of stuff.
Okay.
So, Jam Master Jay should be in there, Run should be in there, and we should always be in the gym together, you know what I mean?
Are you their age or?
No, I'm a little bit younger.
Okay. Not much, though.
Not much. But the whole community was there. It wasn't like, an age bracket.
Right.
It was.
And that drew from what? Like Hollis?
Hollis.
How do you pronounce Rockdale? Rochdale?
No, Rochdale.
Rochdale. So that drew from Rochdale?
No. Just Hollis, French Lewis, Linden. It's like those areas. Don't mind.
Oh, no. Okay. So now that area where that was that more of a?
They call it the north side.
North side. Is that like a little nicer?
Ain't none of that shit nice to me.
Oh, that's not nice either. Okay.
Nah, none of that shit.
But a lot of that Queens area is nice.
What it is it was houses. We had backyards. You know what I'm saying?
So does Detroit, and that's about the worst place in the country. So yeah, I know what you're saying. Just because people got houses and backyards don't make.
But he been like that.
He was managing LL Cool J, and he was like one of the big A&Rs over at Def Jam.
Bimmy was around to Run DMC days.
He was really just one of us.
Everybody thought I was a hustler. Everybody thought I was a drug dealer because I hung out with him.
Hip-hop was a great fit for Bimmy because that's what we grew up on. And he had to connect He worked with the biggest rap group of all time.
What? I'm gonna fight this girl. I said, fight what girl? She said her name was Trina. She could call my phone, blah, blah, blah. I said, hold on, Trina who? She told me. I said, I'll go to Trina's house. I said, listen, come outside. Bring your mother, everybody outside. I said, listen, that girl you talking about fighting, that's my sister. Wow. And none of that happened. You know what I'm saying? So they dead this, but that's Corey D's baby mother.
Right.
So Corey comes to the projects to fight me.
Really?
He got his gloves on, right? So now mind you, security, everybody downstairs. This is a whole summer.
Wow.
So I'm standing there, everybody there. So he said, yo, who Bimmy? So niggas looking like, you know how it go, niggas.
Right.
What's up? He put his gloves on. He like, the horse look at me. Now, horse is the young nigga that get on the young niggas. So he looks at me, wait for the signal. I'm looking at him like, I said, what's up, man? So we start talking. So after we start talking, he start working for me. That's why he said he went and got a little something for me. Went on 109, got the street pumping. He got all that for me, because we got real close. So now after a while, years later, I'm telling him, I moved to Atlanta. I'm on the run, so I go to Atlanta.
Right.
I say, yo, come down here with me. He said, I'm coming. I said, yo, Corey, niggas ain't scared of you. Come on.
or after? No, definitely. No, it was legendary nigga here.
That was after.
After, so you came home.
Before. Because they bailed me out, Whitney.
Right.
They bailed me out, so I was before.
Damn, what the fuck?
So Whitney and Bobby bailed you out?
Yeah, whoa. No, you put some respect right here. No, you need to put some respect, because I feel like she don't have enough respect for the street shit. You understand?
Wait.
No,
You
Whitney
shut
Houston.
So
All right?
Whitney
Whitney
and Bobby
Houston and
bailed
Bobby.
you
Yeah,
out.
Whitney and Bobby. Yeah.
That's epic.
Very epic. And that's legendary. That's a legendary story.
You finished?
No, because I feel like she didn't know.
Dudes' names. You know what I'm saying? So I came up crib, she kept calling me. Yeah, I want to get some. I said, go make some music. Go make a record. My crib had a safe house down my block from my house. She never knew. I play like I'm going that way, but I walk around the corner and go to my crib.
So you fucking her, but you're not into music though.
No, I'm not into music.
You know rappers though.
Yeah.
Rappers know you.
Slick Rick. Everybody's coming to the park. Salt and Pepper. Everybody's coming to the park. You know what I mean? Everybody.
What park? That's Baisley Park.
Baisley Park.
Baisley Park.
That's
Okay,
where
on the
they
south
have the
side.
games.
That's right. On the games. Yeah. I know.
Coming crazy. It was sick, man. It was sick.
Police are trying something.
Sometimes you can bring a key in it. Them was running around 17, 18.
You know what I'm saying? My pops.
So essentially, man, with this Bimmy story, what I'm trying to get out to people is that, sometimes you do what you have to do, but you can always change your life. There's always a way to reform yourself, redeem yourself. So when you look at Bimmy, you look at Big U, you look at some of these other guys who are considered to be real street cats, you look at Jay-Z, you look at 50 Cent, you look at Ja Rule, you look at these guys that were street guys or connected with street guys. You look at Boosie, the Boosies of the world, you start to understand that you can always make a change and a difference. And sometimes people are not who they want to be, but simply who they have to be to survive in order to become who they're supposed to be. Life is nothing without adversity. It's nothing without trials and tribulation. And you must overcome these things. You must continue to push yourself regardless of the situation that you've been put in. You have to work with the hand you've been given. And I know that sounds so cliche and super cliche, but you just got to find something else because life is too short. You don't want to be one of those people who staring down the barrel of a weapon, or, one of those people sitting inside of a cell confused and you still don't understand to a point why you're even there. You just know that, you put yourself there with whatever decision you had to make. And sometimes, when you look at the risk versus reward, you have to ask yourself, is that what you really want? And, if you're doing it because you have no other ways to provide, okay. The world may not understand it. Some people will, some people don't. I'll tell you personally, I do. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, whether right or wrong. But once you gotten what you needed, once you gotten, what you set out to get, you should leave those things alone and take that money, those resources that you didn't have at first that you went back to gain, and you should put that into something positive, because you can't do the same thing forever. If you're a robber, a street cat, you're a scam artist, you run up the credit card, you run the credit, whatever thing you do to get you money, you work in a job that you hate getting paid on the table so you can afford certain things. You can't do it forever. So once you figured out, okay, this time I made this amount and I've done this, that, and the third, okay, it's time to get out, always have an exit plan. And a lot of people don't have exit plans, When you look at Bimmy and when you look at Supreme, when you look at all the other guys that were attached, when you look at these gentlemen, people are like, oh, such and such sold out, they left this alone, they left that alone. No, that's not always necessarily the case. Sometimes people move away from something to better themselves. Had he to stay right there to the end, he wouldn't have a story to tell. You just know about the system, and that's the thing. If your whole family is in the streets and that's how you earn money when y'all ain't have it, that's the way he saw, because that's the example that he was shown. So he followed it. But just like his sister, the minute that something else shook out and could have worked in their favor, they changed course. And they made a decision to better their lives, and now they don't have to worry about their, family burying them, and they don't have to worry about being in prison. And a lot of times with you struggling to move away from something, that can ultimately hurt us. And this is just a lesson to all, man. You can change your life. And I wanted to tell this because it's not many stories where he's, giving up how he got started. Because for the longest time, you never seen this man's face on camera. You never seen him out in the public eye too much. Like 2-3 years ago, I'm just finding out that him and, Dad, which is Walker's mom, is related. Right? Walker used to always talk about his uncle and his family being in the streets in the interviews. And, when I was younger, when I was listening to Gucci and things like that, and Gucci and Jeezy beats going on, I knew who Dad was. I just didn't know the extent of her. And when Walker came along, I didn't know, what he was referring to, but it makes a lot of sense of who Walker is. Why he's an intelligent gentleman, but he put them hands in because he was raised that way. You get what I'm saying? Yo, be smart, but don't ever let nobody play with you. You know what I'm saying? And so when you look at these type of things, and you look at these people, look how they're able to change and move accordingly with their lives and start up new things. And now that he has a story to tell, book deals are coming, movies are coming, because this is what people, they don't want to. People want to get involved, but don't want to get involved. They want to know how it is, but don't want to know how it is. So they live vicariously through others. So this is one of those things. Certain people, their stories need to be told. There's a lesson in this. It's not, oh, we're going to glorify them, we're going to celebrate. I'm celebrating the fact that I see that he made a change in his lifestyle and where he was headed. I'm not celebrating the things he went through or done or the adversity that he's been a part of. Not celebrating that part. Because we know what that can lead to. We've had too many examples of what that can lead to. But we got to know to judge certain rappers and entertainers who, quote unquote, had street past, but y'all don't see them do nothing in the street, so they're not real. No, the goal is to stay away from drama and to stay out of prison. So y'all would say online, oh, he is sucked up because he did this, that, and he let this person do that, but it's not that simple because they already know there's consequences and repercussions behind each and every action. So when you make a decision, it's for real. Those consequences sometimes are deadly. They are life-altering consequences. If somebody do something to you, and the internet tell you to slide it, you was already thinking sliding. People want to slide on the person, because that's in your nature. That's what you're supposed to do when somebody plays with you, right? And you slide on that person. But you were emotionally driven when you committed this crime. So now you killed this person, you went too far, you get caught up. You get caught, you go to jail because you were sloppy, because you were emotional, right? Then you do your time. The first thing everybody that's told you to slide the first time is going to say, oh man, he dumb, he blew it, or she blew it, he threw it all away. And you never even had to react because you're in a different stage of life, you're in a different state of mind. Everything don't call for a reaction, not a direction. Because there are private conversations that should be had. My people get touch your people, my lords get touch your lords. Hey, that's definition of character. You on the internet slandering my name, I ain't got to pull up a punch in your mouth. Yeah, as in the street, now you don't go to court, you don't tell the police. But at the end of the day, when you're a 40, 50-something-year-old man or woman, sliding on somebody is not an option when you got kids or grandkids. And you are the sole provider of generations of your family. It's not smart. It's more calculated. Let's just say if Jay-Z was driving past in a limo and somebody just so happened, that's Jay-Z in a limo, and throw a rock at his window. As 51, 52-year-old man, he jump out that limo and do something to that guy. Without thinking about, oh, I got bodyguards and this, that, and third. He's going to get caught for one, he's high profile, famous. People know him. Okay, like, you can't be the same person at 50-something years old that you were when you were 21. It's impossible. And if you are, you have a serious problem. But salute to Bimmy, salute to the world, salute to all parties involved. This is Jim's TV. I invite you to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's Jim's TV 87 every out.